Hello and a very warm welcome to Thinking Talks, the broadcast of the Wilfried Martens Center for European Studies. My name is Peter Hefle. I'm the Policy Director of the Center, and well, history doesn't make jumps sometimes, at least that's what we thought, but the recent days and weeks have shown that it does, and with the crisis, the war in Ukraine, we have seen that many assumptions, many things which we have taken for given has faltered, many assumptions in political thinking. And well, on Tuesday, the European Parliament quite actively and decisively voted for supporting Ukraine's fight for freedom. Today, we try to shed some light on the objectives of the Russian policy, in particular of Mr. Putin, and what Europe can do, how to engage, and which options we have. And I'm very glad to have Mr. Kubilius with us, one of the most outspoken and renowned experts on Russia. Mr. Kubilius, thank you very much for joining us for today's meeting. You had been serving as Prime Minister in your home country, Lithuania, from 2008 to 2012. You had been now, since 2019, member of the European Parliament and also the member of the family, the European People's Party. You have served for the EU-Russian and EU-Ukraine relations, so who better could we get for this urgent topic? Well, let me start with the first question. The Ukrainian people have impressed the world by its resistance, the will of resistance, but how long can Ukraine stand up against this highly trained forces of Russians? Do you think that European Union should engage even militarily in this situation?
Well, thanks a lot. Really, situation which started to develop after February 24th, with invasion of Russian militaries into Ukraine, of course, is still very difficult to grasp. How things will go. Definitely, Ukrainians are simply heroes on the battlefield in general, in the country. Soldiers, ordinary people, leadership of President Zelensky is something which really is remarkable. Of course, we are trying to do all what we can do in order to support, first of all, Ukrainians in their fight. Both with weapons deliveries from different EU member states. Now on Tuesday we passed resolution here in the Parliament, which also proposed to deliver weapons using EU Peace Fund, which is around of €500 million euros, and that will be done. Second, of course, we are trying to support Ukraine from financial and economical point of view, and 1.2 billion was given by Commission, and we are now looking for possibility to establish a special fund, which at least for time being we have the title, for that fund, and we call that fund the Free Ukraine Fund. And we think that it could be, financed in the same way as, recovery fund during pandemic was created and funded by EU going into the financial markets and borrowing money. And we think that fund could be, multi-billion fund. I will not name, how much euros will be needed. Prime Minister of Poland named, 100 billion, maybe. But, that fund would be devoted to, restoration, rebuilding of Ukrainian economy, after the war. And the last point, of course, our support for, EU membership perspective, for candidate status. That is what we did. On another side, of course, our goal is to target and to punish as effectively as possible and painfully Putin, his surrounding, and of course Russian economy.
Well, this is indeed my next question. The EU and the United States and other countries joining this alliance have set up an impressive set of mechanisms and threats. Do you think that this will really hit the Russian system, the economy, the military machine effectively to come to a kind of end and negotiations? What do you think?
Well, that is a goal, and as we see, really, those sanctions, especially sanctions against the Russian central bank and its reserves. As we see now, they are very, very, very well targeted and very painful. Really, Russian national currency ruble, is going down, and so-called credit default swaps parameters, which are showing how financial system of the country, how much it approaches, what we can call bankruptcy. That is also, you can see in the numbers, which of course experts of financial markets, they are able to read that. But what we can see now is that really those things are deteriorating in Russia very, very rapidly. The question is, does Mr. Putin has any ability to behave in a rational way? That is the biggest question. That it looks like that really all his actions were totally what we call, madman actions. And then the question is, how to send very clear, painful message for him, which he should, understand in a rational way. It's not very clear if he's able to do that. Maybe somebody around him, maybe those oligarchs, which also are hit very heavily. And that is a question of how things will develop. Of course, for Ukrainians to defend their country against much bigger, military forces of Russia is not so easy. They are doing a great job. But of course, we hope also that from another side, our sanctions on Russia, on the Russian economy, can bring, Russian authorities to such a point where they will understand that that was the biggest mistake of Russian authorities to start this war.
You have long time followed the developments in Russia as well. Do you expect any changes, more resistance with rising numbers of victims, dead soldiers, mothers on the street? Do you think that this will change something?
Yeah, it can go, because really, the number of deaths of Russian soldiers in Ukraine is really is very big one, and it's increasing each day. We see a lot of reports how Russian soldiers are surrendering and so on, and this is it's very clear that Russia is very weak in this war, but still they have larger army, larger technique, which again Ukrainians are very good in destroying that. And then the question is how long it can go. From another side, really, protests are growing up. In general, I don't know how long it will continue. Either it will be weeks or or longer or shorter. It's absolutely impossible to predict. But my view is that really Putin is losing this war, and he will and he will lose that war, and then really we shall see different Russia. I am saying in a very simple way that stability of peace on the European continent will come with deputinization of Russia. And I see that really Ukrainians are doing a great job in assisting Russia to get rid of Putin.
I think it was quite interesting for the last question to see beyond Europe who is supporting our measures. If you look to Asia, it was Japan, Korea. Others had been quite absent for a long time. I think this is a dimension we should discuss as well. Who are our friends out there, and how will we recognize now with these massive steps against Russia? I think this was a very clear sign. Also, I think to the Chinese side. What do you think from a more geopolitical perspective? What will be the outfall of this crisis, however it might end?
I think that one of the most painful sanctions were introduced by teeny Taiwan. Because they decided to stop chips. And as we see from Russian media and from some experts, really it's total pain. And Russian, either military, industries or some other industries, without those chips, they are not able to produce anything. So really it's interesting to follow even Russian debates about how they will, planes are taken by island, because all the Boeings which they were using for internal flights were leased by Irish companies. So Boeings are taken by island, and their domestic production of planes is dependent very much on Taiwanese, chips. And then Russians were discussing so how they will travel from Moscow to Vladivostok, for example. and they said, yeah, Zhiguli will take something like 1 week or more to go. So that is what is going on. Now it's very important also what in the West, in the democratic world, we need to do, and that is what we're trying to push here in the European Parliament. I would urge really, for total embargo of Russian oil and gas, because that is, still we are buying that oil and gas, and my calculations only if we should take, EU, payments for oil and gas. So each day we are paying somewhere around of 200 million euros, annual payments are around of 90 billion, for last year. And 200 million means that we are buying somewhere around of, 120, 150 tanks per day to, Russian, to Putin side. When, it takes 3 days for Ukrainians to destroy such a number, we are paying for during 1 day. So that would be our goal now, really to introduce full embargo. We shall survive, for next season. We shall have, new possibilities to get oil and gas from other sources. Now we need to do that, immediately.
Well, many aspects, energy, international security, things to be followed up. For today, I would like to thank you very much for this very insightful. I would like to thank you for your interest and patience, and we will be back to this series of thinking talks with many other topics. Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot.